Okay, teacher. Um, Good evening. My name is Luisa Fernanda Parra.
Wait,
I
not
am
yet. Wait, I'm going to present
okay.
you, right?
Okay, teacher. It's fine.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Wait, I'm going to present you. Don't worry. I know that you want to do this quickly. I know that you want to do it quickly. But I need to send this link. And let's see. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome once again to Upper D presentations. We're going to go ahead right now with our presentations tonight. Thank you so much for the ones that are watching us tonight. And so we're going to start with the first person of the night, my dear Luisa Fernanda. She will be telling us a little bit about natural flood management as part of a thesis research that she did for her master's. So my dear Luisa, thank you so much for being here, and you can go with your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, teacher. Good evening for everybody. My name is Luisa, like I said, the teacher, and the topic of my presentation is natural flood management. So let's get started. First thing first, what is flood? So floods are natural and recurring phenomena that are necessary in river dynamics. That allow to dissipate flows, energy, and it's necessary because it provides nutrients and sediments to the flood plains. So the floods for itself are not a problem, but when we occupy their flow plains, we affect their dynamics. Also, when we building or some, I don't know, homes or things like this, we expose us to be vulnerable to a flood threat. So let's go to see what is the real problem. The real problem are the effects of human interaction with rivers, the development of agricultural systems, urbanization, mining. In general, the modification of the dynamics of rivers have led to see them as a problem due to physical, humans, and economic loss. If we also consider that the technological and economic growth of the last 2 centuries was based on the traditional vision of man's domination over nature and this moment of development, uh, let we don't can see the importance of the proper function of the river environments and with ecological water resource because they are have they have been systematically ignored to prioritize water supply, energy production, crop irrigation, waste disposal, and waste transport. So we have the consequence progressive deterioration of basins, rivers, and streams, limitation of bodies of water, increased erosion, human occupation of place under treat, etc. It has led to the damage caused by floods being ever greater despite the fact that the amount of water that rains each year in the country is approximately the same. So it's it's terrible because we see worse floods, but in effect the water is the same. So the distribution is not the same, but the water yes. In Colombia, according to data from 2010, 12% of the national area is periodically flooded. Due to this figure is For example, that floods are frequent disaster on a high economic impact. The problem party explained by the boom in engineering, which by channeling rivers and building dams shows concrete infrastructure as a tool for controlling and solving flood problems. This caused the population occupy floodplains, and they have a false illusion of security. So, without knowing well that this type of works have an expiration date, I'm going to explain why. And this is because they are designing for specific conditions that in really are not always followed, and especially if their maintenance is poor. Therefore, at the time of a flood, they are easily overcome. This caused more serious situations they were trying to prevent with their execution. So I'm going to show you this picture because I love this too much. Uh, to say the floods don't stop at the city limits. The right decisions can only be made together and on a full basin scale. You know, classic engineer solution normally it's focused on the protection of infrastructure and the defense of agricultural production, but that have significant environmental impacts by interrupting the natural flow of water and of course this storage process. So they cause alterations in the dynamics of the river, affect ecosystems, and can seriously damage them. But, however, in recent years, it has begun to be understood that the solution in this case of rivers is not combating, but to manage them. It is considered them a heritage to be conserved and respected. Therefore, the world is beginning to look for alternatives that allow better knowledge and coexistent. It's a consistent management of fluids, but without significantly affecting the dynamics of water bodies. It is important, and I'm going to show you the strategies that I want use in my thesis. So the strategies of natural flood management are river bank vegetation modification, recovery of floodplains, creation of wetlands, coastals, and river management. And I'm going to show you why. If we go, when you see these concepts, when you see the river like a system, it's implied practice that mimic natural hydrological, geomorphological, and biotic process to deal with large volumes of water and this their objective is reduce flooding by not with infrastructure. It's like focusing on the management of the large river discharge volume. It is what I want to do. So you know, when the rain falls, the flows are directed towards the river. But if there is a low vegetation, this water takes a longer to arrive. So consequently, it dissipates volumes and energy. So the floodplains and connections to wetlands allows the flood allows floods, yes, but you can control this because this going to be located in the upper part of the basin and not below. And below is where the city is. So is where the inundation are terrible, are dangerous for the people. And and for the infrastructure, and we can have uh, a losses, economics and human losses. So this is the location. This is the basin of the Olivares River. Uh, it is located in the southern region of the department of Caldas, in the city of Manizales, bordering the municipalities of the Neira and Marulanda. The Olivares River is characterized in this beginning, uh, like this, for a hard topography. It's begin by having a step head up to the Rio Blanco intake where, despite being a mountainous area, it has a slightly wider body, which facilitates to existence of occasional floodplains. The floodplains is that what I want connect to the river for the control of for the management of floods. Um, and this is until the Popal. At the key of Aranjuez neighborhood, the river again presents discontinuous floodplains. This happens until the Rombo, located at the exit of the municipality of Neira. And in this place, the river changes the topography, so presents a pronouncing box until this mode in the Huacaika River. So this is the place, and this is the general objective, that is a study to implementation of natural flood management strategies in the Olivares Minita stream, evaluating their effectiveness in reducing peak flows and potential damage. The specific objectives are: once, analyze the study area, identify key points for flood mitigation. Second, propose a natural flood management strategies in the Olivares Minita stream. Uh, Third is evaluate the effect of the different alternatives. I'm going to do this with hydraulic modulation and hydrological modulation. Um, and the last one is propose the implementation of natural flood management strategies that have presented these results. So this is all. This is what I hope do for the Olivares River, for try to restoration this river and try to manage the floods. There are the reference, and this is the end. So thank you for your attention.
All right, my dear Luisa, thank you so much for your presentation. It was definitely very complete with a lot of different information, new information for me, like personally speaking, and probably a lot of new information for the people that are actually right now watching us in this YouTube live. Thank you so much, and we're going to continue with our presenters of the night. So, second presenter of the night is going to be telling us a little bit more about he's going to continue speaking a little bit about the Earth, but in a kind of different way. So Andres, yes, he will be just sharing something very exciting that he probably learned over in his career. And so he's going to be telling us about the Earth layers, yes, the structure of the Earth. So Andres, well, that's like speaking French to me, but I know that you are more clear on the information that you would like to share. So thank you so much for being here tonight, and the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, teacher. So, as the teacher said, my name is Andre Lopez Alzate. I am a geology student from Caldas University, and today I am going to be talking about the internal structure of the Earth. I think this is such an interesting topic because it shows us how our planet is made. Okay, there are two ways of dividing the Earth into layers, compositional layers or mechanical layers. Today, I am going to be talking about the first one, the compositional layers. The Earth is made up of three different layers, the crust, the mantle, and the core, these two of here. And each of them have different characteristics.
Sorry, Andres, maybe you can make it bigger, like full screen down there.
No, teacher, I have some notes in another window, so I can do that.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect, no problem.
Okay, let's start with the first one, the crust. This is the outside layer of the Earth and is made of solid rock, mostly granite and basalt, which are rocks of intermediate and basic composition, respectively. There are two types of crust. The oceanic crust, this blue one, and the continental crust, this one who has the mountains and all those things. Oceanic crust is denser and thinner, as you can see, and mainly composed of basalt. And continental crust is less dense, thicker, and mainly composed of granite. It has an average thickness between 35 to 45 kilometers. Let's continue with the mantle, this part in here, all these three layers. The mantle lies below the crust and is up to 2,900 kilometers thick. It is composed of silicates rich in ferrum and magnesium. These silicates are part of different mineral groups. The crust and the upper part of the mantle make up the lithosphere, which is broken into plates. This word, lithosphere, is part of another way of dividing the Earth, the mechanical layers. As you can see, the mantle in here in this diagram is divided into three different layers, but those are the mechanical layers. Another topic for another day. Okay, let's move into the last part, the core. The core is the center of the Earth. It is up to 3,470 kilometers thick and is made up of two parts. The liquid outer core, which is here, is this one in here, and which is composed of ferrum and nickel, and the solid inner core, which is composed mainly of ferrum. There are many difficulties when trying to do studies inside the Earth because there is no access to it. This has been achieved thanks to geophysical studies, which have consist of observing how the same wave behaves in different ways during its transit through the interior of the planet. As you can see, a nice analogy that can be used in here is the Earth as an egg. You can use in this way. The crust is the same of the eggshell. And as you can see, is the thinner part of the egg and the Earth too. The mantle could be the egg white and the core the egg yolk. This is something that will help you remember. I think this is a relevant topic for all of us because this is something that everyone should learn and know. It is just general information about our own planet. Nowadays, there is a trend to learn and share information about new planets and objects in the space. As you see some weeks ago with the mission to Mars and some other mission that there are being the NASA is having in these days. But little is said about our planet. And that was the reason because I choose it. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, Andres, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I felt like in a biology class, honestly. I honestly did not remember much of the things that you were like many of the things that you were mentioning in there. So I really appreciate great information and definitely very, very interesting to learn as well. All right, well, talking about interesting things and things that are related to the earth and maybe the like what's like beyond earth, our next presenter is going to be telling us a little bit about a very interesting mission. The he will be explaining the objective of the mission, which is called the Lucy mission. And well, we will be learning a little bit more. Like we already learned about our Earth, our planet. Now we're going to be learning about what's going on outside our planet. Okay, so my dear Edinson, thank you so much for being here, and you have the floor, you have the word.
Good evening, everyone. I am Edinson Yesid Bonilla Celis. I study geology in Caldas University. Today, I'm going to talk about the Lucy mission. I choose that topic because in Colombia increased the level of technology about the planetary geology. And it's important to understand the space because there are different questions that can be resolved and applying that topics with understand our planet, the Earth. But you are wondering who is Lucy. Lucy is a fossilized skeleton of an early hominid found in Ethiopia on November 24 in 1974 by Donald Johnson and Tom Gray. Expedition member Pamela Aldermar named Lucy after a celebratory evening dancing to the viral song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I present the song. Uses that the Lucy fossil provide a unique insight into the humanity evolution. The Lucy mission promised to revolutionize our technology about the planetary origin and formation of the solar system. But the focus of the Lucy mission is the Trojan asteroids. But what are the Trojan asteroids? The Trojan are outer solar system asteroids that orbit the sun in front of and behind Jupiter at the same distance from the sun as Jupiter. The Trojan asteroids provide a unique, never before explored samples of the remnants of the early solar system. It is a time capsule of the birth of the early solar system that the scientists hypothesized it's about the 4 billions of years ago. That primordial bodies let resolve question about the origin of the organic material and even the life on the air. There are 7 asteroids that the LISA mission will visit. Patroclus and Monetus, the scientists hypothesize, is the primordial asteroids that form the early solar system. Eurybite is a member of collisional family of asteroids. Horus, Lucy will able to compare Horus with Lecus. Both are dark red asteroids thought to be rich in organic material and coals. There are similar sites, but different spectral type. Lecus, it's extremely slowly. Its day is 466 hours. That meaning in the day is hotter, but in the night is colder. Polymele is a dark asteroid that it's a red type of asteroids that be rich in organic material. And finally, Donald Johnson it is the smallest of the asteroids of the Lucy mission. The diameter is around 4 kilometers. The Lucy spacecraft and payload. Lucy instruments pointing will carry 3 instruments for remote sensing science. The first is a LORAD. It is a Lucy color visible imaging. It will allow us to look for the absorption lines that serve as the fingerprint for different silicates, ice, and organic that like will be on the surface of the Trojan asteroids. The second is a LORRI. This camera will provide the most detailed images of the surface of the Trojans. And the lattice, it will allow to learn about the properties of the Trojans, such as their thermal inertia, what well the bodies retain heat. We teach us about the composition and structure of materials on the surface of the asteroids. The Lucy mission have 4 principal objectives with relation with the geology. The first is surface geology. Lucy will map the albedo, shape, crater space, and size frequency distribution, determine the nature of the crustal structure and layering, and determine the relative age of the surface units. The second is surface color and composition. Lucy will map the color, composition, and regulate properties of the surface of the Trojan asteroids. The third is interior and bulk properties. Lucy will determine the masses and density, and maybe determine the study of the space surface, the surface of the craters of the asteroids with excavation. And finally, satellites and rings. That is the Lucy trajectory. It will launch it in October in 2021, in this year. The period of time the spacecraft's life it's about 12 years. The first asteroid that Lucy will visit is the Donald Johnson. It's in April in 2025. Then it's Uribites in September in 2027, and the next month in Polymele in October in 2027. Then it's Lecus, and it's in April in 2028. And the months, it's Horus in November in the same year. And finally, Patroclus and Moneatius, it's the final of the asteroids that the Lucy will visit is in March in 2033. That is a video of the trajectory of the Lucy's spacecraft. It's the red, and the blue, it's the orbit of the air. You see the movement of the Lucy. That is the first asteroid, Donald Johnson. Then Uribates, Polymele, Lecus. Again, the orbit of the Earth. And continue with Patroclus and Moneatius, and finally the spacecraft flying in the space. That is the Lucy team. The principal leader is Harold of the Southwestern of the Research Institute in Colorado, with a team of scientists and engineers. They have the responsibility to understand the results about that mission, and maybe understand what happened with the origin of the solar system. Colombia will be presenting with Adriana Campo. She's a geologist and NASA research. She led New Horizon project, what consisted in a spacecraft to visit Pluton. That spacecraft was launched in 2006, and she is an executive program. Her function are the permission with the American government, the relation with other companies and principals, have the support, the financial of the project. Finally, it's a short video of the mission. It's very short, but you animate to following that mission in October in 2021.
Are you going to show us the video?
Yes, teacher, but sorry, but the video, my internet is terrible. I can't share with you.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
that's all.
All right, that's good. That's okay. What you can do is you can send me the link in the chat, and then I can share with all the people that are out there
teacher.
in YouTube. Thank you so much. Very
Okay,
interesting.
teacher.
Very interesting. Very interesting presentation, the one that you were showing us in here. I had no idea about it, and for sure I will be doing the follow-up on October, you said?
Yes, in October of this year.
October of this year is going to be so probably they're going to be broadcasting something related to Lucy's mission over there. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. And well, we're going to continue tonight with our presentations. So from outer space, yes, outer space to Colombia once again. Yes, we're going to be back to our country here. And we're going to be talking a little bit more with our next presenter about Colombia and something very important, yes, literature. She will be presenting about a very interesting book, yes, and so my dear Alexa, she will be just giving us a short brief about Letters to Antonia, yes, a book written by Alfredo Molano Bravo. So, Alexa, are you there?
Yes, teacher.
Perfect. So Alexa, it's your turn to present. Thank you so much for being here, and you can proceed.
Thank you, teacher. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Heidi Alexandra Rivera Cardona, and my presentation is a special book called Letters to Antonia by Alfredo Molano Bravo. First, it is necessary to know some topics of this presentation. The first is about author Alfredo Molano. The second is little summary about the book. The third one is why it's important to read the book. And finally, like a conclusion, why did I choose the book? Let's start. Alfredo Molano Bravo was born in Bogotá in 1944 and died in 2019 as a consequence of throat cancer. He was a sociology journalist and writer. He wrote many books and articles in El Espectador journal they were about violence, about social problems. He was involved during his last year of life in Colombia's True Commission. Alfredo, he was known because he visited many places from Colombia, especially regions to difficult access like Amazonas, Orinoquia, Guainía. And the most interesting about his trees was he listened the people were affected by the violence, and he listened the farmers in order to write about them. Now, the summary about the book. Letters to Antonia is a posthumous book because Alfredo wrote many letters, but he never sent this. When he died, his son found this letter and now are the book. This book is also about the moving reflection and teachings of grandfather Alfredo to his granddaughter Antonia, but it's not only about a familiar relationship. This book is about his trips around the Colombia. It's about Colombia's history, Colombia's injustice, and about his exile and his illness with the throat cancer. Now, why is important to read the book? Some ideas. The book has a beautiful and sensible way to express an unfamiliar reality. For example, what happened with the farmers during the years of war. Alfredo was an important person who investigated the social conflict in Colombia, and for the reason this book is about Colombia's history, but the way for communicating his idea was through letters, and for the reason it can be easy to read, because the letters were to Antonia, a teenager, his granddaughter. Finally, like a conclusion, why did I choose the book? The first, the connection between his style and social problems, because Alfredo visited many places, but he explains the cause of the social issue and the origins in this about these communities. He showed us a special connection with the history of this region, with the histories. And the second, putting things together that are interesting to me, like histories around the Colombia, especially in social areas, and he explains about social conflict in Colombia, about issue problems. And finally, this book is a moving life history because Alfredo described his last days with the throat cancer. He wrote his last letter 15 days before his death. I think this moment was very difficult for him, especially because he showed us how vulnerable we can be, and he wrote about his feelings in these days. And finally, thanks for your attention.
Thank you for your presentation, my dear Alexa. It was definitely great to get to know, like there are always different ways for us to get to see literature and different authors that we usually explore. But this is one of the authors that we usually are not told about, okay? So we know about Gabriel Garcia Marquez and many other different authors that are very popular out there. But this one is one that we really need to consider as well to explore later on, for sure. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for your presentation. Well, let's see. Right now, we're going to move into a different topic, which is going to be a little bit more related to, one of those things in life that we consider important, which is money. Important for many people, right? But well, the problem about money, yes, that's going to be the topic that we're going to be touching a little bit in our next presentation with our next presenter, who is my dear Santiago Orrego. Okay, Santi? So a problem called money. Santiago, what is the problem with money? Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm going to talk about the problem about money, or a problem called money. But first of all, what is money? Actually, money is like the way that we use to pay something. For example, a car, to pay for a house, a candy, for everything. Now we use the money for everything. It's like the engine for the world, for the world. So the division of the money. According to Robert Kiyosaki, who is a really recognized entrepreneur and writer and lecturer, he says something, and he says that the money could be divided into actives and passives. So what is an active? An active is something that you work in and you get paid. For example, when you work in any job, you work the whole month and at the end of the month you get paid. That is active because you worked in that and it get paid. And the active is divided into things: an active income and a passive income. What is an active income? An active income is like the example that I gave you, the job. For example, you work the whole month and you get paid because you work for that. For that, so you work for that, yes. And a passive income is something that you don't have to work for that and it gives you money. For example, you buy a house but you don't live in that house, you rent that house, and that house is going to like pay you for each month. You have to collect the rent each month, and is money that you don't have to work in. You just go and collect that money. Now the passives. A passive is something that takes out money and you don't get that money back. For example, a passive is when you have to pay the rent because you pay the rent but you don't get anything for that. You have to pay the food, the bills. Is money that you have to pay for something and you don't get that money back. For example, the cars, when you buy a car. Let's say you buy a car and you get a debt for that car, and you have to be paying that debt for 4 years. But when you finish paying that debt, the car is not going to cost the same as you buy that car. So you lose like some money because you're not going to get back that money. So what is the problem with the money? The problem is that we don't have a financial education in the school. I think that you can solve any problem with the school and the education. Maybe if in the school the teachers talked us about money, how important it is, how to use that money in a good way, to not waste that money. So I have like some tips. First is reading books. There are a lot of books according to a financial success. For example, Robert Kiyosaki, the man that I just talked about, he wrote a book that is called Poor Dad, Rich Dad. And it's about that. It's about the financial success, how you can get like a financial freedom. That is something that is important, and maybe a lot of people want a financial freedom. So you don't feel like, oh no, I need to pay this, I have these debts. No, you have a financial freedom, you can live kind of in peace. And the other is something that is called 50, 30, and 20. This is a way to use the money. So what does it mean, the 50? 50, let's divide your salary. So the 50 is the 50% of your salary. The idea is that with that 50% of your salary, you pay the things that are necessary for your living. For example, with the 50% of money, you have to pay the rent, to buy the food, to pay the bills, something that is really necessary. And the 30%, with that money, you can use it for something that you want. For example, you want to hang out with your friends and you will need some money, so you can use that money. Or you don't have shoes, so you need that money to buy new shoes. Yes. And the 20. The idea with that 20% is to save it. Why? Because you don't know when is happening something. For example, one day you are driving to your work or driving back to your house and you crash. And you need money to repair your car because you need that car to drive to your house again and go to the job for everything. So if you need to repair, you are going to get in a debt because you don't have money. So that is the idea. with that 20% that you have saved for months, in if you save the 20% of salary in 5 months, you are going to get a new salary. It's like you in that month you are going to have two salaries just saved. So when you need that money, you can use it. So as a conclusion, I think that with the education, with the financial education, is something that is really important, but the people don't pay attention to that because I think the poverty that is currently in the world is very high. And I think that one thing because we have a lot of poverty is because the people doesn't have financial education. So for that thing, I think in the school we should teach to the kids about financial education because if you teach when they are kids, when they grow up, they are going to be more smart with that money, smarter with that money. So I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Very interesting. I didn't know the theory of the 50, 30, 20. That's very nice. That's definitely a very good strategy, very good tip that we can use in everyday life, like with any type of, what's the name? Passive? Or,
We
no, active.
yeah,
Active.
everything. Yes.
Yeah, with everything. Yeah, but with the actives that you're active is what you receive, isn't it?
Yes.
All
When
right,
you
that's good.
receive money.
That's good. That's very good. Interesting. Yes, that was an interesting. I felt like in a master class of finance around here. That's good. Santi, thank you so much for sharing. Very interesting information and very important as well. Well, anyways, we're going to continue right now, and we will continue talking a little bit after this. We'll go back to literature. Okay, we will be going back to literature. And so for this purpose, we're going to have a very intellectual guy. He's always very, very excited when he's speaking about any type of topic that is related to philosophy or related to literature. You will be able to see the passion that he has and the passion that he shows every single time that we, like touch any of those topics. So, Sebastian, you're more than welcome, and thank you so much for being here. Let's talk a little bit about Hemingway and Faulkner. Yes, today, two very important authors of American literature. Go for it.
Okay, teacher, thank you very much. Hi, my name is Joan Sebastian, and today we're going to talk about Faulkner and Hemingway, a ballad of simplicity and complexity. Okay, but first we have a base in American literature. American literature as a freedom fact. Why? Okay, the independence of the United States was a freedom fact. In fact, that base in the French Revolution, and in that cause, in that culture, in that letters, we have a lot of writers, and that writers told about the literature. For example, Stendhal with Red and Black, or for example, many years ago, Honoré Balzac with the Human Comedian. Okay, what else? The two authors for now was and this character. Okay, first I'm going to talk about Faulkner. Faulkner was a very complex author for me because his style has a little complication with that, but in that moment we talk about that. But before I talk about a biographical brief. William Faulkner was born in 1897 in the city of New Albany. In consequence of the environment of the ambient with a great south spirit, Faulkner stayed in that place until his death. Okay, first, Faulkner was a south gentleman. What is the sense of that? Okay, the south gentleman in that epoch don't have the same character of, for example, an actual author. William Faulkner is not the same thing, for example, I don't know, William Ospina, or for example, Alice Munro. And for that condition, for that characters, for that things, Faulkner don't have the correct comprehension we who he can consider, right? Okay. Influences in his style. The first fact on his influences was the consolidation of a civil war. Civil war was the most important fact in the American story. Is the consolidation of intellectual and politic facts, and that period is relevant because in that period we have the definition of freedom. We have the definition of the equality, or the definition of, I don't know, the same conditions with all people. Another influence is the national story behind the Civil War, the Great Civil War, and that causes the racism. Nowadays, we have the case, for example, of George Floyd, and that cause don't have a base in an actual epoch. No, that have that influence in the past. One of characters to Faulkner novels was Dircy. Dircy was the icon of Faulkner, because in Dircy is the consolidation of a rationalist definition of who is most important, right? Dircy is the brain in the novel, is the brain in the history, because the another type of characters didn't have the same characteristics of Dircy, for example. And for that, Dircy is an icon because is the stereotype which don't have sight in that novel. Okay, two things to understand the Faulkner style: the notion of extinct values and the representation in writing. Okay, that in that topic is the complex of Faulkner style. Why? Because with a lot of resources, a lot of metaphors, or a lot of strange words, Faulkner creates a metaphysic, maybe, representation of the condition of the Civil War. For example, in The Sound and the Fury, use the strange structure to remind and forget the past in the same space, to consider the new possible perspective of a South condition. In fact, the South condition had since that epoch a lot of problems. Is like, for example, when we talk about the gentlemen of Pasto, gentlemen of Barranquilla, is the same thing, because the South don't have the same sense of, for example, a North gentleman or a gentleman of Washington, and Faulkner is the representation of that. And the second thing is the analysis to create a new memory according to the past. In the same way, Faulkner, with his style, create a new definition to equality. It is important to consider that topic, because when you read Faulkner, you say, "Oh no, it's very strange. I don't like that," but it's a patient reading For that reason, Faulkner isn't an explicit author. Faulkner is a paradoxical author. Is a paradoxical author in all the sense. Okay, the second author is my favorite author, Faulkner, obviously, but Hemingway had another type of sense. And Hemingway is a fight to Hemingway's freedom. But before that, biographical brief, excuse me. He was born in 1899 in Oak Park, Illinois. Since his childhood, an important difference with our last author, Hemingway didn't have an explicit influence on himself to develop a possible virtue. Faulkner had the influence of his grandfather's stories. His grandfather had the foundation, have the principal cause to Faulkner's style and the reasons which Faulkner writes, right? And the other causes when I can talk. Hemingway don't have these characters. Why? Because first, his mother didn't have an affect to him. She was very strict. She was very rude with Ernest, and important to consider, she didn't have any reasons to consider his daughter who who he can consider a noun style. She said, Ernest don't have the same talent with me, or the same talent like his father. No, Hemingway is a dumb, is a little piece of shit, maybe. Excuse me for that, but is that expression which she employed. Okay, the Hemingway's influences. 3 countries, 3 lives. France, Spain, and Cuba. France, in special, with the experience to inspire Farewell to Arms. France is the principal place to consider the Hemingway's formation. Is the consolidation of Hemingway's style and the controversial personality of Hemingway. Spain and his admiration for the bulls, for the tradition of Pamplona, or for the tradition of the tomatoes fight. He had the most important perspective to the bulls culture, and that we can share that in what is the name of that novel? Okay, in Paris is a party. Is the book when which we can share that perspective. And Cuba is the most important place to consider the Hemingway's talent, because he wrote, excuse me, The Old Man and the Sea, with an influence to a possible idol of Hemingway, and that idol is a little man of the sea. His last name is Fuentes, and that is the influence of Holder. The second, Gertrude Stein. Gertrude Stein is maybe the most important influence of Hemingway. Why? Gertrude Stein is is maybe the grandmother of all the writers in Paris. He was the grandmother in metaphoric sense of Scott Fitzgerald, of maybe James Joyce, and maybe the most important influence and the most important maybe son it was Picasso. Picasso is the the most important for person for she. And Hemingway's is maybe the rebel young, the rebel son for she. But Hemingway recognized the sense of his talent is for Gertrude Stein in Paris and his own experience in the Great War. Farewell to Arms is the best example to consider a testimonial novel because it's the novel which Hemingway write about his experience of the Great War. He stayed in the Italian front against the Austrian men, and he stayed in the war zone. Okay, three things to understand Hemingway's literature. History and life is the most important aspect because he considers the history like an own production. For example, the Great War for he is his own victory. Or for example, in the Second War, he considered he is the most important person in that field. He said, I stayed in the place where French rescued his culture against the Nazis and another type of peculiar things. The second, the writer and the fire. Okay, in all the history, we can share the archetype of the soldier writer. In our case, we have two examples, Garcilaso de la Vega and Miguel Cervantes. Two writers who can fight against his enemy. Meanwhile, maybe he wrote, for example, the Quixote in the case of Cervantes, or in the case of Garcilaso, his epopeyas in inspiration of his Cinderella in Isabel Freire. And Hemingway is the same way because Hemingway has the experience. Meanwhile, he probably he wrote Farewell to Arms with a love story with Italian nurse. And finally, Life as a Prelude to the Death. Hemingway take in 1961 a type of revolver, and poof, he died in that moment because he won the Nobel in 1953, but that is not sufficient to consolidate, to create a new life. No, it's maybe an important aspect to pass away. Hemingway, until his death, was a representation of suffering archetype. Why is important that writers like me, first, they won the Nobel, and second, they is inspiring me a possible challenge to write in the future times a type of book. I don't know. Okay, with that, I finish my presentation. Thanks for watching and enjoy future stories.
All right. Thank you so much, my dear Sebastian. And thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing the wonderful presentation about those two very important American authors. Thank you so much. Well, anyways, we're going to continue working on this. Some people, including me, we have been wondering like what has it been for the people out there fighting for the pandemic, you know what I mean? And so we're going to be, you know, looking at the great experience of a nurse, yes, that is going to be telling us a little bit about what she does, and of course giving us her insight about what is it being to be a nurse nowadays. So my dear Johanna, thank you so much for being here, and we're very excited to listen to your presentation.
Okay, thank you, teacher. Good night, my name is Lady Joanna Hurtado, and today I'm going to talk about my life being a nurse. Okay, I study in the University of Caldas. I graduated 6 years ago. And the first question that I want to answer is why I choose being a nurse. Always, since I have memory, always I have the desire to help people, because I love share my own experience. I love hear other stories. I love share different experience with other person. And when I can help other people, I feel useful for the society. So for those reasons, I decided being a nurse. Why I decided to talk about that my experience being a nurse, because I feel that being a nurse changed my life in different ways. I think that being a nurse is a lifestyle. It's a different way to do things. It's a different way to think about the world. So for that reason, I want to talk about that. So what did nursing do for me? Many things, because being a nurse is not only for the money. Obviously, it's important to me earn money for my house, but it's not the most important when you choose being a nurse, because the most important is that you want to care other people. When I decided being a nurse, I learned a lot of things. I learned about child. I learned about teenagers. I learned about care communities, so I can use those knowledge in my life every day. So being a nurse, it's a way to be better for your own life and for the society. So I can that in this moment, the nursing taught me a way to be better person. And when I talk about community, being a nurse teach me how to talk about other people, how to understand the different ways to see the things. Many times the person thinks that being a nurse, it's only cleaning a person or administering a medicator, but is more than that. It's more than only do things. Is thinking about the individual. So it's different to that. When we are a nurse, we need to provide healthcare management. And what is that? It's provide medical care to our patient. How we can provide that care? We need checking their vital signs, like temperature, breathing, and heart beating. And we need to listen the different signs of the disease. And when we checking, for example, the vital signs, we need to design a care way for that patient. Also, the nurse attend the family and answer the question patiently. Even if the patient doesn't have family, nurse supports them and in many times when the death comes for the patient. The role of the nurse is support life, in despite the fact that many times we need to accompany death, because many times the patient doesn't have quality of life, doesn't have opportunity to recover their health. Okay. About my job, I am coordinator of patient program. I need to keep patient safety when they stay in our hospital, because there is a lot of risk. If you are in a hospital, you can fall, you can have injuries, procedures, and you can suffer human errors. So in my job, I need to think about different technologies, protocols, and guides to keep safe the patient. And obviously, I need to present results and indicators about my job, about how I can improve that risk, or how I can reduce that risk in my hospital and keep safe my patient when he stay there. Obviously, you can think, but what types of things they can do? We can, for example, about different beds and different chairs and different structure to maintain safe the patient. Being a nurse is not good all the time, because we have many things that isn't fair for our careers. For example, we have to work a lot of hours, many times 2,020 hours per month. We don't have free times. It's no matter what is the day, we have to work. In many hospitals, the nurse only have 1 day per week free, and many times that day is after night, because we have to work in the day of the night, and many times the only day free is after night. So it isn't it doesn't fair for them a lot of time we have to work. Other thing that is not fair for us is the contract, because a lot of nurses in our country doesn't have a contract that covers their necessities. For example, social security or her money in Christmas or in their vacation. It's not fair for us, because we have a lot of work in our hospitals. Other point that is not fair for us is the money, because many professional, is not only for the nurse, even the doctors have the same situation. They have to work for hours, and the salary is for hours, but doesn't have anybody security in their jobs. Because if, for example, a nurse gets sick, she doesn't have a salary for that days. And if you think about it, is not fair, because for example, in this moment, a lot of nurses, a lot of doctors get sick for coronavirus, and they don't have salary for these days. If you have money in your account, you can survive this day. But if you don't have, no, you don't receive pay for this day, and this is only one disease, because we have a lot. We have hepatitis B, another disease that you can get in a hospital, only when you need to attend a patient. So for that reason, I think that all is not good when you are a nurse, or when you are a doctor, or other types of career in a hospitals, you know. Thank you for your attention. Is my presentation.
Thank you, my dear Johanna. Thank you actually for your amazing presentation. Definitely being a nurse is not a simple thing, and I think that has been demonstrated by your experience, by your presentation, and by all of us that know people that are always taking care of us every single day in the hospitals. So thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciate it, and we're going to continue right now. The night is going to continue and is going to turn into a different topic right now, which is going to be a little bit more connected with something that is happening in a different part of the world, Africa, like for being more specific. Gabby tonight is going to be explaining a situation that is going on in Africa. You know, one of those thousands of situations that sometimes we are not really aware of. And well, she's going to be explaining one that is happening nowadays in Africa. Thank you so much, my dear Gabby, and you have the word.
So hi, my name is Gabriela, and as the teacher say, I choose the topic hunting albinos in Africa. So first, teacher, I'm sorry. So first, we have to know which is the cause of the albinism. The people who has albinism can produce melanin correctly. So the melanin gives us the color of our hair, of our skin, and also of the color of the iris of our eyes. We have to know that the albinism is not a disease, it's a genetic condition, so it's hereditary. Now, I'm going to tell you how is the life of the albinos there. So start imagine that you have to hide of the sun most of the part of the day. Then you every day have to have a lot of people around you, because it's the only way that you get safe. Because if you go to any place alone, you must be killed, because the people think that your body have magic. Then you go to the school, but in the school the people is the same as you, with the same characteristics, because it's the only way that you don't feel discriminated. And moreover, imagine that you wake up every morning thinking that maybe it's your last day, maybe it's the last day of someone that you love. And it's so sad, the people who has albinism there must be live forever scared, stressed, they don't feel safe, so it's very sad. So the albino people in Africa thinks that they have like a malediction because they were born like that. And the poverty here, as you see, is not only economic, it's also cultural, because the people that don't believe that your body has magic, so they think that you have that malediction because your parents did something bad in the past. So they want that you die only just because, just because. The people who hunt the albinos use the parts of their bodies as an offering to be rich or to be successful or to be lucky, or they want to sell the parts of their bodies for a lot of money. It's not cheap. Also, they say that the potions that they do with the albinos bones cure any disease, any disease. And they do rituals too with their corpses. Also, they think that the AIDS can be cured if they have sex with an albino woman. So for that reason, if you are a woman, if you are an African, you are albino, if you don't die just because they want to sell your body or because they want to be lucky in some whatever things, you must be raped by many men that have AIDS that happen there. And this is a case of a little girl that was kidnapped the last year in 2020. Her name is Was de Janeva. She was in their house, in their refuge with their family. She was slept, but in a moment, 2 men entered to their house and kidnapped her. They say that they want to kidnap her sister too, but the mother can save her. Also, the mother tried to follow the men and that kind of things, but she can't. And the other day that she went to search her daughter, she find her only the body without her head. And that's all. I want to share this with you because I think that we have to know more about what happened around the world. The reality that we live is not the same as the other people. And I think that if we share this kind of topics that are not too famous with other people, maybe in the future we can do something if we know about the topic. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. Definitely, as I was mentioning at the beginning, as you mentioned at the end of the presentation, we sometimes don't know what's going on in other places around the world. It's very important for us to be aware. Okay, be aware. We should be not citizens of Colombia, but citizens of the world. And I think that that's one of the conclusions that we can draw from this presentation as well. Gabi, thank you so much. Great presentation. Thank you so much. We're going to continue. By a matter of maybe me being a little bit, I was overlooking on the list of presenters, and I was missing to present one of the greatest presentations that we're going to have in the night from all the presentations, the great presentations that we have already had. And so my dear Maria, yes, Maria Paula is going to be the next person presenting to us tonight, okay? Something that I love about this presentation and that you will love as well, teachers that are watching this, is that you will be feeling this great energy over there, because he's gonna be talking about being a dream maker, and well, you will be able to see why this is going to be very, very touching for all of us. So Maria, thank you for being here tonight and explain to us, please, what is a dream maker?
Okay. Hello for everybody. My name is Maria Paula and I am dream maker. Welcome to this magical presentation. Now we're gonna start. Yes, I am a dream maker. This is my profession, but maybe you are wondering, what the hell is that? But don't worry, I'm going to explain you. But for that, I am going to make you remember your childhood. Yes, that time when you were a child without any worries and you just want to play, disobey your parents, doing crazy things, and eat candies all the time. Yes, in that time, I start with my job. I know that you already know what I'm talking about. This is me being a dream maker. This is my class. And maybe when you were in the primary school or maybe in your kindergarten, you could have had a dream maker and they make you believe that you could be whatever you imagine. For example, if you want to be a Disney princess or a ninja or maybe an astronaut or a soccer player or the race runner in the F1, whatever you imagine. What amazing times, no? But with the time, we change our thinking and we change our dreams for more serious dreams. For example, to be doctors, to be nurses, to be firefighters, to be police officers. And again, our dream makers stay with us to make those dreams possible. Many people said me like, oh, really? Do you want to be a teacher? This is stupid. You just need to sing Baby Shark all the day and feed it the kids, and that's it. Like a piece of cake. Come on, it is stupid, but I don't think so. I'm not gonna be a simple teacher because I am a dream maker. I don't teach them things. I teach them how to dream and make it possible. Also, I am all professions together. Imagine, I am a doctor and a nurse because I have to attend my students when they are hurt. Also, I am a lawyer because I have to defend it when they are in troubles. Also, I am like a police officer because all the time I have to stay attentive what are they doing, the crazy things they do all the time. And also, I am a president. I am their president because they obey me. Not all the time, I mean, sometimes, but they obey me. Also, I am a psychologist because all the time I am advising them and their families to be better all the days. And finally, I am mother, I am father, I am grandfather, I am sister, I am grandmother, and finally, I am as a friend. Imagine a world without dream makers. It could be like a divergent movie, just choosing our factions and always following the footsteps of our fathers, our parents. Without dream makers, you maybe wouldn't have been where you are today, or maybe what you are thinking to be later. Being a dream maker is the best profession in the world. You are all the time like in a children's storybook. Yes, like Peter Pan with his lost boy in Neverland. And you play, you enjoy yourself, you laugh a lot, but you also cry because you want to solve all the problems. And as a good story, we have our dream maker, like the Cinderella's fate godmother, but also we have our dream destroyer, like her stepmother. It is terrible, but we try to do our best for our dreamers and to help them to be success. Finally, this is my job. What I want in the future is that more dreamers pass for my magical world, because I want to become those people in the best in the world, becoming dreamers and make those dreams in reality. So if you want to be my student, you are welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Actually, yes, with that amazing energy and with that amazing presentation, you really want to make me come back to kindergarten and first grade. You know, we were happy and we didn't know we were. That's what people used to say, you know. That's true. That's true. And this is the type of inspiration that we need to get from people all around our societies. Okay, like this is the type of change that we need to make in our worlds. And I believe, because I'm also a teacher, I believe that this is one of the most important, if not the most important, professions. Okay, so please continue with your passion and continue helping and improving those little people's lives. Thank you so much. Thank you for it. All right. Well, my dear Maria, yes, that was very inspirational, and well, we're going to continue. Yes, like that gives a lot of inspiration for us to continue working tonight in our presentations. Our next presenter is going to be telling us a little bit about his profession and what he does. Very important to mention, yeah, that he's going to be, you know, giving us a little bit of insight in like in the topic of agriculture, but the way that you can actually connect agriculture with administration. Okay, so my dear Victor, thank you so much, and well, I think that is going to be an awesome presentation as well. You can proceed.
Okay, guys. Now I'm going to show a presentation about my career that is called Agricultural Business Administration. Um, sorry, give me a second. First, I am going to show a little information about the administration in general, and then a more specific information about my career. Okay, what is administration? Administration is a scientific discipline whose purpose is the study of the organizations. Is responsible for planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the resources, like financial, technological, knowledge, materials, etc., in order to obtain the maximum benefit of them, depending if it's economic or social, depending on the objectives of the organization. The history of organization, the history of administration. The administration is one of the oldest activities that humans have done. The humans starts to make administration when they saw the need to survive. For example, if we see the old cities, that Mayan cities or Machu Picchu in Peru, we can assume that those people made administration because they needed to planning, to organizing places for to were born those cities. But administration not was considered a career or a science until the beginning of the century, on the beginning of the 20th century, when people like Frederick Taylor, that is a scientific, creates a school of administration, and with them creates the administrative theory. With the administrative theory, people can understand more deeply what is administration. That happened about the time of the Industrial Revolution. Now, agricultural business administration. The administration is a complement to other science. If you are a student or a professional of this career, is is normal that you know or have a basic knowledge about economics, statistics, accounting, sociology, psychology, etc. Now, with my career, have a lot of that science, and have other science is the agronomy. Why is important the agronomy and administration together? Colombia is a country that the most important activity is the agricultural. For example, in our department, Caldas, that is an smallest department of Colombia, has about of 40,000 farms. Those farms, or a few of those farms, have a few management, or your activities are made without administration, without planning, and for that reason, the earnings are little, because they don't have professionals in this area. Why this career is important to me? I always have lived in a farm. When I was younger, I really worked very hard in a farm, and for that reason, I didn't like the place. But now with my study, I can change that talk about the farm. I consider that the farm is a good business. Is the principal activity or economic activity in this country, and for that reason, I consider that this career is very important, because this country is not industrial. This country does need an administrator that have a lot of knowledge about unusual equipments that we don't have. We need a people that have a lot of knowledge about the farms, about the administration or management of resources, like the animals, like the plants, and the other products. For that reason, it's important. And yes, that is my presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very important presentation, and the way that you connect both things, both fields. By instance, sometimes when you think of, agriculture and administration, they seem to be, like, sometimes to be very far from each other, but you're now demonstrating that there are different ways for you to connect the one with the other. Amazing job. Thank you so much, my dear Victor, and thank you for your presentation. We're going to continue. Yes, we're going to continue in our list. And now we will be talking a little bit about a kind of different topic, yes? Our next presenter, Leo, he will be telling us a little bit about video games, and he will explain, like a couple of myths and a couple of other facts that maybe we don't really know about video games. So, Leo, if you are here, take the word, please. Yes, thank you so much for being here tonight, and you have right now this space to explain your presentation.
Sure, teacher. Thank you for the introduction as well. Well, as the teacher mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about like video games, but specifically about like if they are like a loss of time. Well, starting, I'm going to tell you like the history about this, how it started. Well, it started in 1958 with the first video game made that was using like an oscilloscope, that is this machine that use like receive signals as a peaks or mountains, and someone decided to create like a tennis, or yeah, a video game about tennis. So it is kind of funny that this is the one video game ever made. So well, this is like the start, yeah, weight of this art for some people. But now I'm going to focus like in the in the current like work about video games. There are like thousands of video games and different kinds of it, like adventure, horror, fantasy. Well, we can look a lot of, and this image we can see some of them. But what happened with this? There are some myths that or excuses that our father or mother tell us used to not to let us play, or probably it's because of our health, right? So they say that, yeah, probably our side will get loose, or something worse can happen, or for example overweight. That is a myth about like getting with overweight or something like that. And I'm going to tell you like if it is real or not. I'm going to tell you first like the good things or video games. First, that is that in some way they help you to like, if you take video games as a routine, just like playing an hour or even less, like 30 minutes, you can play video games in your cell phone, in a console, or whatever you have to play them. They in some way are going to help you like in your real life. First, because most of video games used to be like colorful, and when they set to you like a goal or something to achieve, most of them use like signals and a lot of colors to, yeah, mark that specific thing to do. So in some way that helps you when you have to do like specific things, and you can be like more efficient and faster do it some text instead of just like looking for something difficult. It is easier for people that used to play video games to get in contact with things, and they will do it faster. Then we have like, they are also, the video games also work for people that have like physical and mental problems, especially. There are like a lot of like apps for education, and also for people that are suffering like illnesses of mental problems. For example, as you can see in this image, the people specifically for like these mental problems use the VR glasses. They're the virtual reality glasses for get like in contact with a world in which like people that, yeah, they're having like serious or, yeah, problems, they can be more like in contact, and like people that are in charge of them will help them for sure. And this works as a rehabilitated like way. Then we have like the bad part of video games, that is for sure like the addiction. That is the most common one, and this obviously exists as everything, because for example we can die from like water poisoning, just imagine that. So video games is not like an excess in this, and an exception, sorry. And we can see like if you start to playing like video games more than a routine or a hobby, just because you really want, and it's like your way to escape from reality, you will get like involved with them really like deeper, and you start, I don't know, like playing 5 hours each day or even more. You can like become addicted to video games itself, and you can start to suffer in different problems. That these problems are, for example, like becoming um, for example, with the anger, or becoming an angry person. And yeah, in some way, even with overweight, you can like, yeah, become like physically, it is the worst part, because video games don't help you more like mental but no physically. So that's why. And also it's like the bad socialization, or like isolation itself, because we are a society, we work like as a group. And in video games, you used to play like alone most of the time. They are like multiplayer video games, right? But most of the time, you don't have like the real contact or the human contact with the other people. So most of this thing that the bad socialization happen with like the youngest people, like people from 8 years old, or 8 years old, between 10 years old, used to suffer this kind of problems when they get used to this, like, yeah, a lot of video games playing the whole day. And when they are going, for example, to the school, they don't used to have like contact with their mates. So if people don't like take, how can I say it, like looking for like this problem, it can become like worse for they. Even they will look for another solution, or even getting more involved with these games. And now, like, is the part of the myths that are, I select two that are for me are like the most important. That the first one is video games make people violent and aggressive. This isn't true. Why for? Because video games like themselves don't make people violent. This is something like a part. The video games can work like as a trigger, but not like the main reason itself, because it is more like it used to happen like in young people, and we have seen, I think, like thousands of videos that show people like broken their cell phones or their video games console and the TVs, etc., etc. But it's because of something else, and not because of the video games themselves. That is what people think. And also that they improve decision making. What happened with this? This statement is, let's say, in some way a positive statement, but the thing is that happened with the first one. It's like similar. Like the video games don't make people like get like more intelligent than someone else. They help you to like perceive different things that people that doesn't play, that people that don't play don't, but don't work like that, I can say. And this is all. Thanks for your attention, and yeah, for being here in the presentation.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you for your great presentation. We were learning like a lot about video games. I'm not a big fan of video games, I have to be honest, but it's always very essential, like to be, you know, clearing doubts about this type of topics, because sometimes, I'm going to use this verb. We satanize this type of, like this type of video games or this type of activities that children and teenagers they usually do nowadays, or they actually play nowadays. So thank you for that. Thank you for explaining, and thank you for your presentation. Coming up next, we have a great presenter who's going to be telling us a little bit more about um, physics. Okay, it's actually like a very interesting topic, but something that you really need to be careful with. Okay, so David is going to be explaining why physical engineering is not only useful to be a teacher. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, David, and we're going to be paying attention to your presentation.
Okay, teacher, thanks for presentation. And Hi everyone, today I'm going to present you why physical engineer is not only useful for being a teacher. So my name is David and let's start. So we have the agenda for today. What is that? What's the problem? What's physical engineer? Jobs to which we can apply, master medical physics, and a little conclusion that I want to present you. So what's the problem? And I'm trying to answer this question with my own with my own experience. So what's the problem when the teenagers need to select a career? So when I was in 11th grade of school, I didn't know what to study, nor in which university to do it. So this problem led me to think why teenagers nowadays don't know what they want to do or what they want with their future. So in this way, I conclude that the big problem is that teenagers are not qualified to decide these kind of things. And in that order of ideas, I believe that our society, our school, our families, our friends, or maybe a simple unknown person need to talk about it with young people, with us, and they need to give them suggestions and try. They given suggestions and try to open their minds in order to select in a right way when the moments are right, when the young people need to choose a career, because this is a decision that change your future, and this is very important. So yeah, I think that, and I think the other factor that can affect this decision is the social pressure. The social pressure that you must to do something because the society always see you that you do. And I think that our parents to give us a little pleasure, trying to recommend a possible careers to study. But the only thing that they get is the only that the people make a decision. So for this reason, I decided to talk about my career and the possible way to get a job or something like that. First of all, I'm a physical engineer related to National University. And I will say that all people, believe me, all people think that the only job that a physical engineer can apply is like a teacher. And yes, this is one of the job that we can apply, but we can apply to the other jobs. And I would say that is a lot. And I think these people think that because this career is not common. It's not common like a chemistry, like architect or civil engineer or something like that. And I say that this career is recent because this career is made in 1999 in Manizales. So yeah, I'm trying to believe and understand that these people don't have a lot of knowledge about this career. So maybe is something new for them. And also, I confess that when I was deciding which career to study, I want to study civil engineer, no physics engineer, physical engineer. And this is very interesting because when I was choosing a career, the university gave me all the a big list with the old career that we can select, but the civil engineer don't appear in that list. So only I choose a physical engineer and that's it. And I didn't know anything about physical engineer. So for this reason, I think that our society, our college need to give us a lot of suggestions for that. While I study physics and the semesters pass, I started to enjoy it. And I recollect a lot of information that the possible ways to work, to get a job, and the possible branches to specialize. So this is, I show you. So first of all, what is physics engineer? In a brief summary, it's a branch of engineering that you need to mix all your knowledge about physics, the principle of physics, chemistry, electricity, optic, with engineering. And if you mix that, you can do a lot of things. For example, you can optimize a process in a industrial process, but this is not a only way to deepen in this career, but it's very common to that. And also, I believe that we have a lot of advantages of the other careers. Why? Because the physical engineer are capable to understanding, to reproduce, to practice, to produce, or know how to control a natural phenomenon, or maybe a system, or maybe a device, or something like that. And if you understand that, you understand why this functioning in that way, you can modify that, and you can do whatever you want. And maybe this, maybe with that, you can improve something. You can improve a treatment or a device or something like that. Only if you change a parameter, a variable, you can see what happened with that experiment and analyze them. So next, these are the jobs that the physical engineer can apply. And obviously the first, and this is education. And for me, this is one of the most important jobs. Why? Because if you are an excellent teacher, if you have a good pedagogy, you can transmit all your knowledge. And maybe you can train young people to have a good judgment about things. And for me, this is very important because our society needs that. Our society needs young people with a good judgment about society, economy, environmental issues, or something like that. Because if our society had that, you can construct society. And this is very important. Also, researching is very important too, because with that you can improve, you can support, I don't know, maybe a new treatment, or our country, or I don't know, maybe our world, for example, if you do a good research. And the other word is material engineers. Also, you can characterize, create, and modify materials with specific properties. So you can apply that in a specific, I don't know, way, treatment. For example, you need to put a specific material in the body of one person. So you need to modify certainly characteristics for do it. And the other job is nuclear waste management. And this is very important because if you don't know how to recycle, how to management the chemical components or radioactive components, you can cause negative effects in the person, in our society. So this is very important. The next, data scientists, and for me, this is very interesting because I think the physics person are the best person to do that. Why? Because we are accustomed to manipulate data. And if you manipulate data in a good way, you can transform the data and information. And if you have this information, you can analyze something. If you can analyze something, you can do something with that, improve something. So this is very important for our society, our world. And also, in this is curious because in this job, you can work together with mathematicians, with industrialists, system engineers, electronics, statisticians. but I think the best career for that is physics. This is something like a pluggy, but yeah. And the other job is an electrical and electronic engineering. Is only for analyze signal and creation an optoelectronic device. And the last but not least, medical physics. And why I decided to show us, because at the moment I'm doing a master of medical physics, and I want to you and I want to you know about the world. You have a little pieces to my world in your heart. So, and for me, this is a best or the most beautiful branches that you can dip if you are a physical engineer. So in the first way, you have radiotherapy, and I mix radiotherapy with radiological and clinical dosimetry. Why? Because in this way, you use radiation in order to treatment or control a specific problems that the people have on the body. So with high doses of radiation, you can kill the cells that causing something bad, for example, the cancer. If you had cancer, you can control or treatment that. Because these high doses of radiation are usually use protons and neutrons, and these particles can ionize the material. So in this case, you can break the DNA and kill the cell. On the other hand, we have radiation protection. And this is very important too, because if you don't know how to carry the protocols, the legislation about how we need to protect the people about the protection, you can cause a negative effects, for example, and the most common example that people know is like Chernobyl. Yeah, this is very important. And also we have product of image. And in this case, we have to divide into categories. The first category is non-ionizing radiation. In this case, it's very common to use particles that don't ionize the material in order to have images, for example, in ultrasound or nuclear magnetic resonance. So if you had your wife or something like that have a baby, and you can see what happened with the baby, you can do that with non-ionizing radiation. On the other hand, we have the ionizing radiation that in this case, this radiation ionizing the material, the cells, the tissues. So for this reason, you can take care with that. But with this category, you can produce the image like X-ray. For example, if you broke a leg or your bone, you can see that with that. And the last but not least is nuclear medicine. And this is very curious because we use radiopharmaceutics. It is like a little drug with a little sources of radioactive isotopes. It's like when you have a source of radiation in your body, but it's a little radiation that the only way to use that is to determine a possible pathology or a control or treatment disease that you have in your body. And finally, I only say that this is the conclusion. It doesn't matter that the profession you choose. The only thing that is really important is how much you know about it, and if you really want to study that, because it's very important. You need to think and be clarified in that, because always you spend your money, or always you spend the money of our families. And if you spend the money of our family, you need to take care, because it's not your money. If are your money, you can do whatever you want, because it's your money, but you need to take care with that. And that's it. Thanks a lot for listening to me.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your amazing presentation as well. I didn't really know that much about this topic, and I really love the conclusion. Definitely, if you if you do something that you really want, I think that's what actually is going to make you successful anyhow. Yes, and it's going to fulfill, yes, the purpose that you have. So great. It seems that you really have this passion for the career, even though if you wanted to study something different, huh? Very interesting thing to know. Very interesting thing. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate that. Thank you for your presentation. And we're going to continue tonight. Yes, we're going to be presenting. This is another colleague, friend of mine, my dear Juan Felipe. Yes, another educator, another teacher, and he will be presenting exactly about the same topic. Yes, teachers. Yes, the passion of his life. So, Juanfe, thank you so much, and you can continue with the presentation.
Okay, teacher, first of all, thank you so much for being here and all the persons that are in the YouTube live. So first of all, for the people that don't know me, I'm Juan Felipe Morales. This is my final presentation to Upper D. And today I'm going to talk about my passion of my life. So as the teacher said, the passion of my life is the education. And this is the table of contents that I have here. The first one is the importance of the education, where I write 4 statements that I consider that are important in the education. The second one is an education acrostic, and the third one are some of the examples. So, some are about education. When I'm talking about it, I'm teaching since 2016, right? So I think I start in my school, that is normal school, and I decided to choose this career because I am always thinking of the people, yeah, like the future of the people, or how can I improve their abilities by like the work that I can do. So education, the first statement is life. Why life? Because I consider that like the academic process that you can have in your life with those well, with the knowledge that you already have, like in the schools or in the universities, they are going to be important for the next statement, that is the future. With education, you can like reach a lot of goals that you can have on your mind, and that the future is super important to take into account. Why? Because we as a teachers, we have to take like the process of each student, but always remembering that they are their best projects, right? So I decided to write teachers because for all the professions that we already have in the universities and in all the world, we need a teacher. For whatever profession that you want to study, you need a teacher. And being a teacher is like the way that you can because for me, education is the most powerful tool in the world. And that like with being teachers, we can like being part of this powerful tool. And maybe you're thinking, why I write English? So when I was thinking on doing my researching project, they asked me, the teacher asked me what is the problem that I could find in the education in my classroom. So I was thinking like what can be my researching project, and I do it in English. It was about writing and listening abilities, communities abilities by the Common European Framework for Languages. And this is why I choose that it's important English now, because they can open a lot of doors in the society, being like you are part of the people. Like if you have a second language, if you can talk a second language, you can like have more opportunities in the foreign countries. So that's the way to education. And this is an acrostic that I create with some of the words that I consider that are super important for the education. And that the first one is the excellent. Why? because I think that when I'm doing something, I have to be the best always. It's not a competitive thing. It's not a competitive reason. It's just like competing with by myself. Yeah, like if I think that I could be the best one and I like work to be the best one, it makes me like to be the excellent person, the most excellent person that I can be, and that doing that I can do a better work. The difference, because as some of the teachers that are sharing this presentation now, the difference in the that we can find in our classroom, they are a lot of differences, and that we have to understand. This is the third one word, and we have to understand those differences because not all of our students are the same. All of us have different process. All of us have different like personalities, and we have to take this thing into account because like my students can be different and can be different. For example, if I have a student with a mental problem, that for me is not a problem, but it is like how the person's called. I have to understand that the process is going to be different to the other ones. And then the letter C is about community because yeah, you are improving the community. Education improves the community. Like if you have a lot of students and just the student, you are not the only teacher in the classroom because your students can be teachers to their communities. Because if I teach something to my student and then he or she goes to the house and teach the like yeah like the content that I said, the other person, like the partners or the grandmas, for example, all can learn together. The other one is the attitude, because I think that a good attitude improves the classroom, improves the classes, because, for example, I know that now with the pandemic we can have like presential classes, but with virtual classes and with a good attitude, you can like motivate your students to study, because I know that it is hard to be all the time in a like yeah like seeing a screen, and you can like distract with a lot of things that you have with the street, with the person that are talking near to you. But this is like the teacher can motivate the students. The other one is teaching. I think that teaching is super important because yeah, I already say that for all the professions we need a teacher, but teaching is for me the best career that someone can develop, because as a teacher I can improve the others' abilities, and I can be, as Maria Paula said, I can be a dream maker, because I'm always thinking not only of my dreams, I always thinking in my students' dreams too, because as I have the experiences to teach to a lot of students, they always say like the dreams that they have and the professions that they want to develop in the future. And that for me it's super important to say that they can do it, and they can be part of their dreams if they work, of course, because the dreams are not gonna reach alone if it is not like together with a good work. But yeah, like being part of this like part of the life the students, it is super important. The other one is the inclusion, because as you know we have different people in our society as the image that I have on the screen. So there is inclusion, and we have to practice them in the classroom, because I always I want to have the experiences in inclusion education, but the pandemic couldn't give me this opportunity. But I think that it can be important for our lives, like to have a short experiences, because we can understand what the people feel, how people feel, and how to understand these people that can do the things, but they have different they don't have maybe the same abilities that I have, but they improve more other abilities that I have, but yeah, that they can do it in a better way. So the other is the opportunities, because with education you can find a lot of opportunities, like the scholarships, for example. If you want to study out the country, you can find and you can like participate in some of these scholarships, and the opportunities means that you can like have a like your future more safe. If you don't have the education, I think that it could be more difficult. And the necessity is because education now is a necessity, and you have to understand, and you have to listen to your students, because they need like to develop the necessities that they have, but you have to listen them because you don't know what they are feeling. So if you ask maybe something, and I think that the teachers understand me when I say there is another question, or there is any question for the topic and nobody answered, but maybe some of our students are like embarrassing for ask us to like to the content. And I think that we have to listen then, and those are the necessities that we have to practice, because after the necessity I have to make the lesson plan, because yeah, this is why my students need. So the other slide that I have here are the examples, and I know that you already have seen this movie that is called Matilda, and that this is like how I can to share with you the two phases of the teacher's education, because the first one, I think that your students don't need to have some fear about you, about your methodology, because if they have fear to do like what you are doing, what you are teaching, they can learn as the other teacher that is with good attitude, that is understanding. And those are some of my pictures teaching. I really love teaching. I already being normalista superior. It means that I can be a teacher in kindergarten and primary school, and that those are some of my special pictures, because it was in like near to Sant'Agata teaching all the days. And I think that I was going to teach, but I think that I learned more than the teachers were saying. Like the students teach me more than I can teach them. And that the last one, like you have see, this is like in the pandemic with my students of 5th grade, the last year. And this is like how I think that education can improve the work, can improve the students. But if you're a teacher, or yeah, we can be a teacher in whatever environment in our lives, but the most important thing is to take into account that you can teach the others by the heart, of course, with passion. If it is your passion, this is my passion of life, teaching for the future, like because this is my goal, my mission of life, to my students be best person than me, that they can be better than they can think like, and you can improve the abilities, and you can with them build a future. So that said, thank you so much for being here and to listen me in this presentation.
Thank you so much. Definitely the investment that we always do in our children is going to be the future of this country. And I think that's one of the conclusions that we can actually draw from your presentation as well. Juanfe, thank you for your passion. Thank you for becoming a teacher. We always will need teachers in this society, and teachers like you, okay? And like Maria, and like all the ones that we have been building in this society. Thank you. Thank you for everything, and thank you for your presentation. Well, we're going to continue with the night, okay? I was going to be looking right now on my list, and according to what I have, the next person to present is my dear Dana, but unfortunately, she is experiencing some technical issues in order to present, and she's not right now in the meeting. However, we're going to continue then, and we're going to move to our next presenter, who is going to be my dear Estefania, okay? She will be, or is Dana here? Dana, are you back? No. I don't think so. Very unfortunate. Dana? No. Okay, so yeah, she's still trying to fix some of the issues that she has. Well, by now that we have my dear Stefania here, she will be telling us a little bit about the, a brief history of humankind, yes, in her presentation called The Homo Sapiens. Oh, yes, you see, Dana is here. No, Dana, but your internet is, okay, so try to fix it a little bit because we're listening to you like a little bit late, okay? So try to fix that, please, and then we will go with your presentation as well. Thank you. Thank you, and I'm sorry about it. My dear Stefania, thank you for being here, and let's go with your presentation.
Hello, teacher, and hello to everyone. My name is Stefania, and I want to talk about Homo sapiens. It's a book very interesting and very knowledgeable. I found much information, but the most remarkable is where we are from and we are going. The humans in East Europe and Asia evolved to Homo neanderthalensis, man from the valley, right? Populated like Neanderthales. The more east region of Asia, the population is Homo erectus, upright man, who survived 2 millions of years, and they make it the most durable humans in this area, in this era. This record is unlike the be broke by around this species, and is the boat the Homo sapiens be around the 1,000 years from now. So 2 million is really out of range. In this book, we can find a lot of information about religion, money, ideology, empire, industry, and everything you can find there. You also can question your beliefs and the good, the evil, if they live happily ever, and if if you are happily ever and after. It's a good question. In fact, you can ask it if you ever be happy in someday, right? It's a good question. When you read the book, you find in your mind many questions about the life, and also you can find answers. Sapiens is a stunning history of evolution that commenced 1,000 years ago in Africa and took over the world. As the world was shaped to fit the needs of Homo sapiens, habitats were destroyed and species became annihilation. We are not suffering about annihilation or extinction 2 years or 3 years ago. We are suffering about annihilation many years ago. Since the sapiens, o sea, the beginning of the sapiens era. This is the most important moment when Homo sapiens ascended to the tallest stepping in the food chain. We can see two animals. Was very important animal in the era of where the sapiens start, right? I can see this. this is the wombat. The gigant, the protodont. He weigh his weight is 2.5 of kilograms, and is too gigant. From my perspective of this book, it can help us to raise awareness of how many species we have already eradicated. We could be more motivated to protect what we still have. Animals that are extincting or missing for extinct are not the first. We are the third surge of extinction caused by the Industrial Revolution. Here we can see the animals that they hunt. The animals started to annihilation since we used to hunt for a living. Was it all Homo sapiens? The big question is, what is all Homo sapiens' fault? Some studies try to exonerate our species, blaming the weather. However, it's hard to believe that Homo sapiens is doesn't the fault, right? Or is completely innocent. There is evidence of evolving or ancestor of extinction of the Australian megafauna. And that's it, my presentation. This is my hypothesis, is that yes, we have the Homo sapiens have the fault of the extinction or annihilation, and we continue to annihilation to many species, and it's possible that our extinction will be arrive very soon. And that's it, but I can see.
All right, our extinction is coming. That's a hard message to get, definitely. But well, definitely it's part of the evolution anyhow. And as you mentioned there, and the different things that you mentioned from the book, who knows, maybe we get to that point in which we disappear once again. So very interesting, very interesting. A question that is going to be, just planted over there in our minds for the night. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your presentation, my dear Stefa.
Okay, teacher, thank you. Thank you to everyone.
And yes, absolutely. Thank you everyone for being in this YouTube live tonight. So I am going to be opening once again the floor for my dear Dana, but unfortunately she's experiencing a lot of technical issues with the internet. But well, anyways, we're going to continue working with these presentations. We are only missing two more presentations, two more presenters, but I think that the night is already it's been already pretty long, and so we're going to continue for the next presenter. And I don't know, Aleja, do you want to show your presentation?
I don't want, but if it's necessary, I can share.
It is definitely. It is definitely necessary.
It's my turn.
It's Dana's turn, but unfortunately, Dana is experiencing some problems with the internet right now. So,
But as you know, it's a video.
okay, no, well, like we can keep it there. Just give me a minute. We're going to be saying goodbye to all the people that were watching us here in the YouTube live. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your comments, and I appreciate every single part of this great streaming that we had today. This was Upper D presentations, and I don't know if someone from the group wants to say something else before we say goodbye to the YouTube live. Anybody? Okay, perfect.
No, teacher, only thanks for being here.
For sure.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot for watching us, and well, we hope to see you in the next time in more Upper D presentations, or maybe later on with you guys in, you know, advanced D presentations maybe.